Hi, everybody, and welcome to the blog today. So you guys know I rant and I rave, and that's why you like to watch the blog, right? So, today is going to be a little ranting about preparedness. So, I was reading this very interesting article about smart cities and the increased usage of smart cities and how the cybersecurity aspects of these smart cities are not taken in consideration. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's any technology that's being implemented. Cybersecurity is not really given the forethought that is necessary in order to secure those systems. I mean, mainly because cybersecurity gets a bad rap because it slows things down. We are an instantaneous gratification country world at this particular point. My children, I can just look it up online and get instantaneous gratification from that. And so anything that slows that process down, especially if you're trying to be a cool smart city, you're not necessarily going to consider those aspects of things before implementing some of this technology. I think that it's very intriguing, especially with smart cities, that they're using legacy type of things to incorporate into a smart city, like closed circuit TV, CCTV have been in existence forever, right? And that's part of the infrastructure. However, CCTVs that weren't necessarily designed to actually be connected to a smart city type of scenario, just as the article points out, you can get the model number, the serial number, and everything else off of some of those old devices just by taking a picture. And then all you have to do is either buy that or look up online, instantaneous gratification. Look online what those vulnerabilities are, and now you're in that system. So again, thinking about it holistically, one vulnerability means everything is vulnerable, right? And so if you can get in a closed circuit TV camera, you can pivot and try and get into other systems that you weren't necessarily they didn't necessarily think about as they're now building out this smart city. So I think you as you're connecting office buildings, as you're connecting the yeah, what is it, the tollway, the on the roadways, and you're connecting all of these things to create this sense of, I don't know, coolness. I don't, the smart cities itself, but you start to talk about it, and you get down to some basic cybersecurity type of hygiene issues that you know should be think should be thought about, because we've learned from the past that if you don't think about them, the problems are only going to continue. Like something like network segmentation. If I have cameras that are covering my thoroughway or down a particular street, does that necessarily need to be connected to the bus that's driving down the street, or the driverless vehicle that's driving down the street? Should it be on the same network? Should it be separated based on security purposes, based on the significance of the access to that particular system? And again, yeah, it causes things to slow down a bit, but it's just thinking about the preparedness aspect of it, and the thinking about what a criminal would do if they had access to those individual systems. I think that back in the day, and I'll get off on a small rant, I promise it's going to be small, about landlines. So back in the day, there was this phone that you picked up. It wasn't cell phone. It wasn't you had the home phone with the cord that you plugged into the wall. And they're building neighborhoods now that don't even have analog lines. Now I prefer to have an analog line because I keep a phone in my house that if I don't have power, I could still call somebody to come get me. And I mean, if now the in these neighborhoods, and in my neighborhood, it's no landline, there's no analog, it's voice over IP. So again, when you start thinking about preparedness, if the power goes out, then you don't have the internet, you don't have access to the phone. I mean, your battery better not be dead in any of your devices. One of the funniest commercials that I always chuckle at, and I don't remember. I don't know if you everybody gets it because I think it's AT&T. I think it's an AT&T commercial. I'm not sure, but it's a guy and he comes home and he says smart speaker play, smooth jazz playlist. And the smart speakers says you don't have internet access and he rages about this. But I've been in situations where I've lost power and you can't use anything. I have a smart, there are certain aspects of my house that are a smart home. It's like a smart home becomes dumb. A smart city becomes dumb if you don't have any power. From a preparedness perspective, if you're relying on all of this infrastructure, but it's as simple as if I'm a hacker and I take down your power grid, you're in the dark, you're clueless, right? So a lot of these things that are happening are cool, but it is there still needs to be this idea of this functionality of this if this all goes to well if this all shuts down, if the power shuts down, what are we going to do in order to continue to work? I mean, I you've been at work before because I've been at work before and the internet has gone down and all of a sudden you don't know what to do. You're just like, oh well, I might as well go home because the internet's down. It's like, not taking the time out to figure out that you can actually call people, you can still get stuff down. Things were done before the internet. So I don't know. I think the contingencies for natural disasters are potentially being overlooked, especially when you're building the infrastructure on the reliability of something as simple as the internet or having power, right? And that's the biggest issue with anything you build that is built on access, right? The internet goes down, power goes down, everything stops working. And then how do you now secure that? So I think that the main systems, the security type systems, the more systems that are critical need to take that into consideration more than just Mary's home and me playing my easy jazz playlist on my smart speaker, which I don't have, by the way. But just saying, that's not necessarily a problem, more so than it is from a preparedness perspective when a hurricane hits or something like that. What if you don't have that type of power to actually you know from the backbone of your city, of your home, or whatever, of your organization, of your company? So being prepared in that perspective when that happens, it's paramount. So hopefully you guys got some information out there. I didn't rant too much. Stay tuned for our random thought. Would you know if you had a security breach? Would you know who to call if you had a security breach? Do you know your requirements by law to report when you have a security breach? Do you have a written incident response plan? If not, you may want to call us, the cybersecurity law firm of Texas, where we have incident response workshops where we walk our clients step by step through the creation of an incident response capability so you will know and you'll be able to respond. If you're interested, please go to our website and sign up for one of our sessions now. Hey everybody, so welcome to my random thought for today. And I promise I won't rage or rant as I was doing in the previous section. But I found this interesting case out of the Kentucky Court of Appeal. So um, the Kentucky Court of Appeals has ruled that the police need a warrant to ping you. So basically, um, the Supreme Court has already ruled that in order to get historical cell phone information for any individual person, you need a warrant. The practice has been, at least in Kentucky and other states, where police officers have actually pinged real time where a person was if they were in the act of committing a crime or something like that. And so they actually know that individual. They work with a cell phone carrier and they know that their location. But the Kentucky Court of Appeals has ruled that individuals have a reasonable expectation of privacy and in their location, in their actual physical location. Specifically speaking, if you ping me and I'm in my home, I have a reasonable expectation of privacy in my home. So the police would actually need to get a warrant in order to work with my cell phone company to get my location. So they're basically just saying, hey, in order to ping someone's phone to get their real time location, You're based on the protections given under the Fourth Amendment. The police officers actually need to get a warrant, and so I mean, like I said, the U.S. Supreme Court did not take that piece up, the real time live pinging of an actual individual up. That case hasn't reached the Supreme Court level yet, but this is actually pretty interesting. I was actually, it's actually going to be really intriguing to watch how the courts continue to deal with the expectation of privacy that is inherent in the Constitution and all of these technologies that are infringing on that or could potentially infringe on that going forward. I mean, facial recognition is one of them. You guys have heard me talk about that as well. You know, all of these things that are now the courts are now going to have to deal with. It's just fascinating to see how they're going to refashion some of these, core rights that we have based on the technology that we see before us and before it gets out of control. So be aware of that. Listening to that, police, at least in Kentucky, I didn't look at all the other states. At least in Kentucky, the police need a warrant to ping your phone. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will get a case and actually rule that as well. Have a great day, guys. Thanks again for listening to the Breach Whisperer blog, sponsored by the cybersecurity law firm of Texas. Don't forget to like this post and subscribe to our channel so you can get updates of when we post new things on our channel. In addition, spread the word for me, right? Let's get out there and tell a friend, and so they can all become paranoid cybersecurity and privacy people. Don't forget, if you would like to connect with me on socials, you can connect with me on Twitter at Mary N. Cheney. Use my middle initial always. For my nonprofit, Minorities in Cybersecurity, that is at Mike Leadership, and Instagram and Facebook at MN Cheney Law. And you can find me on LinkedIn just by searching for my name. So if you're interested, connect with me. Thanks again. And just remember, awareness equals knowledge.